A very warm welcome to our weekly news magazine program, Bhutan This Week. I am Sonam Rinchin. Our top stories this week. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gyaltsen offered prayers to the Kudung of the late Kuji Shamar Rinpoche at the Ugen Palri Palace in Paro. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the recipients of His Majesty's scholarship on Tuesday. And coinciding with the first sermon of Lord Buddha, His Majesty the Fourth Dru Gyalpo and members of the royal family attended a prayer ceremony in Trashichozong. His Majesty the King and Her Majesty the Gyaltsen paid their last respect to the late Kuji Shamar Rinpoche at the Ugen Palri Palace in Paro on Monday. Their Majesties offered khadar and prayers to the Kudung of the late Rinpoche. The Kudung of late Shamar Rinpoche was flown into the country on 27th July from Kalimpong in India. Shamar Rinpoche Mifam Choki Lodro passed away on the 11th of June in Germany at the age of 62 due to cardiac arrest. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the recipients of His Majesty's scholarship on Tuesday. The recipients of His Majesty's scholarship Kidu gives students from different parts of the country an opportunity to continue their education. Students who have performed exceptionally well are given an opportunity to study in some of the best schools and colleges abroad. The recipients of His Majesty's Scholarship Kidu go to various colleges and schools in Bhutan, India, Thailand, the Philippines, Singapore, Japan and Europe. Several scholarships like the Trongsa Panlop Scholarship have been offered by universities abroad to His Majesty as a gesture of goodwill and appreciation to His Majesty the King, including 64 students who received His Majesty's Scholarship Kidu this year. 327 students have received scholarships for various subjects such as IT, medicine, engineering, media and communication. His Majesty the King granted an audience to the Indian ambassador to Bhutan, V.P. Haran. V.P. Haran, who served as India's ambassador to Bhutan from January 2013, completed his tenure last month. Ambassador V.P. Haran joined the Indian Foreign Service in 1980. Over a career span of more than 3 decades, Ambassador Haran has served in various other positions, including the Deputy Permanent Representative to World Trade Organization at the Permanent Mission of India in Geneva. He also served at the Indian embassies in Nepal, Belgium, Moscow, Syria and Afghanistan. His Majesty the Fourth Dru Gyalpo, Their Majesties the Queen Mothers and Their Royal Highness the Princess and Princesses attended the Namge Tongche prayers at the Kunri of the Trashichozong. The prayers were performed by monks from the central monastic body led by Dorje Lopun. Following the prayers, His Majesty the Fourth Dru Gyalpo, the members of the royal family, then circumambulated the Namgimi Kilkhor. Meanwhile, the tooth relic of Sangye Yesung and other sacred relics were displayed for public veneration. Hundreds of devotees also received blessings from the Guru Sangye Thongdrel. In order to enjoy the benefits of a sound economic system, it is of utmost importance to build quality roads. The Prime Minister was speaking to a gathering of engineers and accountants in the capital. The meeting also saw discussions on pre-finances, money that is given by the government to undertake projects when the funding agencies take time to release the budget.
Linchin Topke said quality road and bridges will help realize the country's goal of economic self-reliance and food self-sufficiency. Following Linchin's address, an accountant from Nganglam said it has become difficult for them to undertake the project works without any advance budget from the government. He asked the Prime Minister if the pre-financing system could be resumed. Pre-financing is an interim solution of providing money from the government when the agencies who actually sponsor the projects takes time to release their budget.
We have to pay the dues to the contractors. We have to even give advances also. But we cannot now, because the government has stopped giving us the pre-finance. Before, we used to get pre-financing and it really helped us work smoothly. And today, it is causing us grave concerns, hindering our works. We would like to request the government to release the pre-finance again.
The Prime Minister responded, saying that the government had decided not to support pre-financing as the government had pre-financed a lot of projects with huge amounts in the 10th five-year plan.
Pre-financing mara mani digi ngaje chaji chuchipti gutubdalu zero tasa digi ombab digi thoram bemi mathoba ani gitnam sani tabode juse isishoni lalu ladi besa turudi mapale mino lalu di ladi besa turudi jakale himusla Devalu that government pre-financing town the digituru maheba risi is a shani. The Ani Loma Tamam the Namsami Lahachapchi. Ani Politan Nikibe Jungi Hontole that pre-financing the Dilut Namsami Japchur Benibet Hachi.
Adding to it, Lynchen said the engineers and the people at site could however submit the issues case by case to the Minister of Works and Human Settlement, who in turn will table the issues for discussions in the cabinet. Compiled for Namgye Wangchuk, Tikichorindoji, BBS News.
Providing state funding to political parties is pivotal in strengthening democratic development in the country. This was one of the experiences shared by the politicians of the 5 political parties at a seminar after the recent visit to Denmark.
15 politicians from the 5 political parties left for Denmark last month to witness democracy in action. Sharing the experiences from the visit, they said political parties in Denmark have benefited due to state funding. They said if the state funding for political parties could be implemented even in Bhutan.
Sustainability of political parties in between election is a huge challenge, and even bigger challenge is maintaining our presence throughout the country. So it would be very useful if there was some form of state funding, at least to maintain our party offices and secretariat.
For the political parties to exist as a party with all the members intact, we need state funding. We have a very good group who are very dedicated to each other. But in spite of all of that, because we need to sustain ourselves, physically we are no longer together, Many of us have gone because they needed to get jobs.
State funding will always ensure national interest or state interest of the state or interest of people first before the parties and individuals and business. In the long run, when you have enough resources, I think we should support.
The Chief Election Commissioner said that looking into the feasibility and strength of the parties is imperative than seeking for state funding.
It is high time, as I said, is that consolidation. And I think we had talked about how to work together and cooperate and understand through understanding. So it is also, I think, for a small country, do we really need so many parties? Do we really need so many papers, radio stations, So it will be sometimes better to work on strength than basis on number.
State funding to the political parties in Bhutan is provided only during the elections. They said in Denmark, political parties are provided with state funding even between the elections.
The political parties at least have 5 avenues or source of funding. The parties are allowed to do business. For example, sales of merchandise, publications, and those are some of the important source of funding for political parties. And likewise, here in Bhutan, if we could come up with a similar mechanisms to fund political parties, then I think it would contribute to a vibrant democracy.
The seminar was organized by Election Commission of Bhutan in collaboration with the 5 political parties. Chetan Dupchu, PBS News.
The recent Mongar Dzongkha Tsoktu discussed on the annual budget allocation. Some of the GUBs said they are not happy with the budget that was allocated for the current financial year. Some geoks received only about 80,000. Fingatashi reports from Mongar.
GUPs are not really happy with the budget cuts by the government. Thangrong GUP said, as an elected leader, he had promised many development activities, and with the budget his geok has been allocated, he is not sure how he could achieve his promises.
Thangrong geok somtibeojen darigi kotamge mangilde name same lo cases seme sujunela.
Despite our various development plans, we could get only 80,000. This is really disheartening for the people of Thangrong. I'm not sure what kind of activities that we are going to take this year. Looks like we will have no other development activities.
Ngatsang Gyok received only 700,000. Ngatsang GUP said that his budget was also slashed down last year.
Last year we got only 700,000. Even this year is just 700,000. Of course, we do understand the financial constraints, but we would expect if the limited resources could be distributed equally.
The planning officer Chiminamge said there has been major cuts in small development projects and construction of new farm roads. However, he added that government has asked to repropose the budget, and for farm roads, government is working for new modalities.
Atsara should not only refrain themselves from extremely provocative jokes, they should also not ask for cash offerings except on the last day of Tsechu. But according to the officials from the Royal Academy of Performing Arts, some of them do not follow the rule.
Atsaras play an important role in Tsechu as entertainers. They are ones who represent learned and saintly beings. They are allowed to joke and ask for cash offerings, but should follow certain code of conduct prescribed for them.
From
the information gathered from the cultural officers from other Dzongkhaks, asking for cash offerings beyond limit is very rampant. That's why the code of conduct for such practices has been framed. When I interacted with the people and tourist guides, they said Atsaras are joking beyond their limit. The Royal Academy of Performing Arts is trying its best to inform and remind them, since it's a matter related to mask dance. Some people ask us to joke and others say not to. If Atsara don't joke, they won't get anything. People tell me that you are asking for more cash offering and don't get satisfied with that. I tell to my friends that it is not the way to ask for cash offerings. Some people say to limit our jokes, but if you do like this, there will be others who won't like it. Beyond the permissible boundaries, some Atsara go to large gatherings and movie theaters asking for cash offerings. I've seen it with my own eyes. Some tease girls and make them feel embarrassed in front of their families. Even they make the tourists feel embarrassed.
The public also shared their concerns about conduct of Atsara during Tsechu.
More than what they actually should be doing. So in that respect, I think they are actually going beyond their actual job, and that is actually disgusting in the public place, especially when you are with your family and all. And the second thing about Atsara is asking for donations and all, which I think maybe from the religious point it may be appropriate, but in the eyes of the tourists and in the eyes of the foreigners, it doesn't really seem nice, because some Atsaras, they actually ask for dollars.
to make the Acharas aware of their responsibilities and follow the code of conduct. A book, Drugi Achara, was launched today.
The Tambigina Captain Kitab Champion, the Sultan Lekonale, the Lalin Tapgubigi, the Lamtinda Chepe, Makajata Chepe National.
We are not only going to distribute the books, we are planning to conduct workshops in all Dzongkhaks, but due to lack of budget, the plan could not be materialized. Instead, we will conduct workshops in regions.
The book will be distributed to all the Dzongkhaks. The book, which is now published only in Dzongkha, will be translated into English before Thimphu Tsechu begins. Compiled for Chetan Dupchu, Namge Wangchuk, PBS News.
The battle between farmers and wild animals continues to rage in Nangkhor Geok in Pema Gatchel. Farmers say that they are losing their crops to wild animals, especially to monkeys and wild boars.
Bearing the brunt of wild animal depredation is not something new for the farmers of Nangkhor Geok. It has almost become a routine as huge areas of cultivated crops are lost to wild animals annually. Farmers said they spend their nights guiding their crops.
ni ngap kodang nila ni zalagi betpige gochungni zalagi shoni shosa chuna ni jipchumne ke one phakpage tembo tikin sep kauna la tabrang khungja chak seklak.
Villagers say that heavy losses inflicted by the animals are forcing farmers to quit farming and look for other means to earn their livelihood.
Ni dazre shokhan ngam chumila ni brala chunibo otha ni otha ga simmini ni malala brala ni brala alibuchin malala sarla.
During the day, farmers have to shoo away troops of monkeys, and at night, farmers have to guard their crops from the wild boars. Their problems have been further aggravated by the weak monsoon this year.
Otha boranga phakpegi dakan tingena han gone briki marchesar maperang ten kung malani.
Malani we sim gimini otarang hik pibrang la selulu mala we chonan chanyun pan phakpegi ngamni ngap kala zara inyong pumala.
Farmers said they are using various methods to chase wild animals but to no avail. This in turn is discouraging them to work hard. Compiled for Chiletoji, Hishingitup, PBS News.
For those in despair of not being able to continue your studies after class 12, there is good news. If you have not qualified for the merit-based system to study in government colleges in the country, the government is granting education loans free of any interest. 150 million Nultram has been identified under the Economic Stimulus Plan's Special Support Scheme as education loan.
The interest-free loan was approved by the Cabinet last week. It comes amidst concerns for many high school graduates who have disqualified to study in government colleges in the country. Last year, close to 10,000 students sat for the Class 12 examination, of which close to 8,400 students were declared pass. From the total of 8,357 passed students, the Royal University of Bhutan have been able to take in only 3,864 students in different institutes and colleges. A few have entered the job market, and the rest are in vain.
Class chungi do me alutisu machitu gekhabna college yewagi dina sago dam gamme.
We are not able to give loans to all as we have limited amount of money. In 5 years, the program may be able to benefit over 700 to 800 students. If we have more funds, we would be able to provide loans to more students. We have less budget. That is one reason we have limited number of seats.
The education loan is not for everyone. The government's plan is to grant it to about 100 to 150 students, preferably those from economically disadvantaged backgrounds.
There
are not many colleges in the country, and those students did not meet the qualification percentage in government colleges. So, to meet their dream of pursuing higher education after going to school for about 13 to 14 years, during our party campaign, we promised to help those students with poor backgrounds pursue higher education. That is why we started the program.
The Education Ministry will assess the applicants by monitoring the background of the applicants by a committee with representatives from relevant organizations. The debtors are to repay the interest-free loan in 15 years after a relaxation period of 2 years. Those willing to avail the loan may log in the ministry's website at www.education.gov.bt. Namge Wangchuk, BBS News.
The Samti Dzongkhag Tsogdu rejected the proposal to establishing a dryang in Samti town. Members said the entertainment centers are associated with social nuisance.
The decision was unanimous, with all hands in the air agreeing not to allow dryings in Samti Dzongkhag, and of that particularly in Samti town. The proposal was motioned by the Dzongkhag Culture Unit at the 5th Dzongkhag Tsogdu. Initially, there were mixed views from the members. Some said dryings could create employment, while others were in the view that it would create social disharmony and threat to security.
It would create an opportunity for the young people who are looking for a job. Moreover, in a place like Samti, in some events of national importance, when you can't find dancers, you can hire the people from Dryang and still manage to promote our culture.
I don't think there would be any problem when it comes to the security. Take for example Phuntsiling, a big bordering town where there are a lot of dryangs, yet they have it. Yes, we have a problem with finding a suitable area, but I don't think a dryang would be a problem.
When we wanted to establish dryangs, we should ask ourselves if we really need them. We should try to weigh pros and cons, what benefits it will bring. And in my personal opinion, I don't think Samti is ready for a dryang.
Imagine in a place like Samti town, where the shops are closed by 9 p.m. How could we imagine having these entertainment centers open till midnight? We should keep in mind the security issues in place like Samti.
After deliberating, weighing advantages over negatives, the Tsogdu decided to reject the proposal to establishing dryangs, keeping in mind the security issue, the social ills it is associated with, and that Samti town doesn't have enough space to give away to start entertainment centers. Kampal for Somfenso, Pemasuki for BBS News.
Well, that is all we have for you this week. Join us again next week for yet another edition of Bhutan This Week. Until then, this is Sonam Rinchen saying goodbye.